You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Welcome. We're here on Mustache Question. It's just me and Michael today. We get to do whatever we want.
Hello, everyone. My body was found under a lake in 1972. I died of dysentery, and next time I'll be passing away from too much spoiled milk.
So are you the ghost?
1872, Michael?
Shh, we don't talk about these details. Okay?
Well, because then you would be living out the Oregon Trail video game.
I want you to know that it was based off of my life and my lives. Could you imagine having someone who's played that game and just like the amount of like shock and trauma appearing on their face is just like, are you all right? And it's just like, I'm fine.
They used to have that on the computer at the Children's Museum. And literally, we would just sit there and play it over and over and over again. Just like, one of us has to survive. Nope.
My favorite game back in the day when I was a little kid was the games that came with Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't know if you remember that. No. It was this kid's encyclopedia game where you would learn about all these different terms and things. Like, Google it. It is actually an amazing experience, because I remember like going through like Versailles in the game and just like learning about everything, and they would quiz you on certain things. I thought that was like homework done right, because I was just like, it felt like I was actually exploring it, and I wonder if they ever continued developing it.
It sounds perfect, because there were a bunch of those kind of games that I raised my boys on, that if you could find them, that were like educational, but they didn't know they were being educated, so they would play it all the time. Like there was a Star Wars math one that was so good that taught them greater than and less than and some simple math stuff, but they were all like games on there.
Ooh.
Like, we don't have that really well, maybe they do. I don't have young enough kids to hunt them down. Maybe when I become a Mima, I'll know all that stuff again.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, there was one called it was called Mind Maze by Encarta. Encyclopedia. Why is that so hard? It says I'm having a stroke. Encyclopedia Britannica released a game called Encarta Mind Maze, and that was the entire thing. You would go through a massive maze and figure out where you needed to go based off the clues that you would learn, and then in order to get through certain doors, you had to answer the questions. And I'm sure I had really weird things to talk about as a kid, which hasn't really changed.
All right, so if anyone's watching this, even later on, you should like make a list of all the kind of things that we played like that. Like I can think there was ones that were like Freddy Fish, and there was a dragon-based one that was for a show that was on there. They had the I Spy series that were like you have to try to find things.
I also, as a kid, played the Pajama Man Sam games on the PC. And then I think the one that I loved the most was Thunder and Lightning Aren't So Frightening. I don't know if anyone remembers. That was game number 2 or 3 in the series, and there were a few of them. But damn, wow, every core memory of like old games is popping up in my head. I can feel the synapses popping. Or that's also the stroke.
I still have all of them because we just we kept the computer just for I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm Adama and it is the Battlestar Galactica sitting there. Like it would survive some kind of electrical pulse, whatever. We could still use it because, as you know, made
It was
with
all
rubber
analog.
bands.
A
Yeah.
computer run by cogs and switches.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm gonna fire off just a number of them that I used to play: Torrens Passage, Little Big Adventure, Twinson's Odyssey, and the big one was The Last Express. Did anyone ever play any of those? Because The Last Express was a murder mystery game, the big thing that it was like one of the first games of its type that was entirely rotoscoped. So they would get actual actors to come in, paint them in weird colors, and then they would just have them all cartoonified for this game. And you would it was a point and click adventure. So you would go through the cars in the train and like talk to the French guests, and it was like all high class and just like, oh, there's a body under this thing.
Oh, wow.
Whoops. It was amazing, and it is available on like the iPad or whatnot because it was just supreme production values.
Do you think that, I mean, it's been kind of almost long enough that they could introduce all of those things again as like apps for kids, and you know, it's a new generation. They wouldn't know any better.
Yeah, honestly, they'd be like, oh, this game is crazy. You just have to click here and you go different places. And I don't know why children sound like this in my brain.
Are they the French?
I don't know. But yeah, oh man. And part of me, so just to tie it back into comic books, I suppose, if that's what we're doing here. So many of the games that are out now, I feel like could benefit, not even benefit, but it would be cool to get like expansions on them. Like if there was a gaming company of some sort that could make like a point and click adventure or something like more kid friendly to introduce kids to comics, because Scout in particular, but also there are so many children's comic books out there that I think lend themselves to this type of like interactivity, right? Something simple, something for the kids, and then they're suddenly getting into your stories, and then you're just shoveling stories into their brains because that's just what you do with children. I've been told.
I don't know how much it would cost to make like a very simplified game like that, like for like an app kind of game, because it would be kind of cool to have like to pitch to parents. It's like, we know your kids are obsessed with video games, we know it, but if you want to try to get them into reading, here is a comic book that also has a QR code for an attached game. Kind of like they do this with plushies a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's a little free app game you can get if you buy the plushie. Or you
and
can,
it's a companion thing, and it's just like it keeps them engaged. And I feel like I sound 1,000 years old talking like this, like talking about like trying to create children's media and just like, you know, get your children to enjoy applesauce. And it's just like
they grow out of the French accent at age 8.
That's my friend Jordan that I was telling you about.
Awesome.
But it's like it's one of those things where I know that even as an adult, I still would enjoy that type of additional interactivity. Because you know, everyone talks about web apps or webtoons, and it's just like this very simplified version of comic books that are out there. And I'm just like, yeah, but that exists in the gaming space as well. Like you can take a very robust story and make it very simplified and make it fun to interact with. And it should technically feed into each other. Like, oh, I'm playing this game, let me see what the actual story's like, you know.
You have it kind of like the way that they do cutscenes, right? Like you have to get to a certain level to get it. So maybe it's the comic book thing that you buy this comic, or like even for Fortnite, like if you bought those Fortnite comic books, you could get the little code to get a skin.
Yeah.
But make it more like, so it's about the story instead of just like something to throw on. But
yeah, I always wonder if I should have gotten into like game design, but then I realized I don't know math. I never met her. And I feel like video games are just all math nowadays. But yeah, I always wondered, because whenever I develop a story, I tend to take a very, not video gamey approach, but I know I have like certain set pieces that I like to play around with. It's like my own personal sandbox, like what could happen in here? And then I wonder if I should like blow that up. And I always end up creating a story that's like 56 issues long. And I'm just like, this could have worked excellently as like a 4-hour game, and I've just turned this into a multi-million-dollar epic that I now have to finance.
Mhm. I
What
think
about?
Dorenzo's right, like that I think games are pretty expensive to make. So what I think is like someone could just like overnight type that into a computer and make a thing is probably like 12 years with like 10,000 people to make.
Yeah, like I wouldn't know the beginnings of what code even looks like. I know there are a bunch of like slashes, a bunch of periods, and like 67 letters and numbers before you reach anything that even resembles. Games commonly dip their toes, Jordan, into comics to fill in story blanks with tie-in titles. I don't see why comics can't do this, do the game thing right. But I also think games are pretty expensive to make. Yes, I know, but um, but there's something there. Like I there has to be. You know what? Let's ask Chat GPT. I'm sure that's the way to do it now.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Chat GPT? Are you hearing about that?
I am familiar with it, but as a person who likes to write things, I'm really like I can't imagine. I would be like editing. I would spend all my time editing whatever chat said.
Well, the thing is like it's not just about like it writing written content. It can write code for you. So
Oh.
if you say something like write the code for, let's say, a generic website or generic game, and then that's possible to be exported to, I don't know, whatever game engine you want, it can do something very similar to that. You may have to like have a lot of your assets created, but since we have comic books, I can't imagine that it's not that far off that it could develop images and stuff based off of your own personal subset of images. But it would be cool to just like, hey, developed a point and click adventure based off of my issue 1, and then you just like put your issue 1 through the machine. This is how I imagine you feeding stuff into a screen, a computer screen. And just like seeing what magic it can create. And then there's the whole like AI art debate.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of artists who are definitely saying like, no, it shouldn't exist. You know, this is taking jobs away from actual artists. And I absolutely understand that. I also know that, you know, money is tight for a lot of folks. So especially for someone who's looking to just get very generic concept art, like stuff that they're not going to sell, stuff that they're not like, even if it's just to help them conceptualize, like sometimes you just need a small visual aid, and commissioning an artist to do that for you might be impossible for you. So I think that there are certain advantages to having, like, even if they're pulling off of like a trillion different images, like you could do the same thing. You can go on the internet and you can download all of these images and like, okay, this is more or less what I'm going for. But yeah, if you're not selling the art, if you're not posting it, if you're using it for internal use only, I think it's an option for a lot of people.
I think it would be good, helpful for like, especially if you're an artist who usually likes to use photo reference. I know a lot of them that like will ask their friends to like, I want to draw you in as a character. Can you send me a bunch of pictures of you doing this and that? And so it's kind of like that. It would be like saying, instead of, I don't have someone right now that could, do a pose holding a staff. I just need a reference of what your hand looks like grabbing a staff. You could use it for that without having those kind of ethical problems.
It would, for me, I know that I used like a 3D modeling software when I was trying to design my ashcan for my comic book. And it took a long time, and it definitely slowed down my process because, trying to get exactly the scene exactly right, like, oh, I want this angle. And then you can't really give that to an artist because they're going to say, oh, well, I want to see what I can do with this particular set of instructions. I don't want to take your exact, how do I say this? I don't want to take your exact creation and then just paint over that. But it would be the same thing, right? Like, I'm using the 3D modeling software to help me conceptualize what it is that I'm trying to write. But I'm not ever going to release this stuff to the public. I don't know. That's how I've always delved into it. Can you see the chat? Because I can't see the chat.
It pops. It's over in the side. Maybe he'll pop it up.
Oh, there it is. Michael, did you have Bobby's World video game? My brain says yes, but I can't pull up an image in my mind's eye just yet. And you know what would help out? An AI thing. If we could, like, I know I am absolute garbage. Jordan says, I use AI generated art to reference me backgrounds. Got to use the tool at hand. Now, why are we talking like a pirate, Jordan? Who? Me backgrounds. Me backgrounds.
That sounds like that's why I don't like phones or whatever settings that like use the intuitive whatever. That sometimes it's just like, no, that's not even close. But you can keep telling it, no, I don't. No, still I don't want to use that word. And it'll be like, nope, it really did mean
this is what you meant to say, and I want you to know that I'm here for you. Hold
it's
on.
like AI is like, I don't care if you want to use me, I'm going to be used.
Valiant did this a while back. I don't know how successful it was. What do you mean? Could you elaborate, extrapolate?
Yeah, they had video games tied to their comics.
Oh, look, I should do a little bit more research on that. Do you know if they did like text adventures or if they did like point and click?
They had a side scroll, an Exo Manowar side scroller.
Ooh.
Do you remember this, Miss Jen?
Was it like an 8-bit design? Was it derpy?
Yeah, it was like a 16-bit kind of. It was a mobile app, but it was a side scroller.
Huh.
I had to put that comment up before I could finish my thought. Because
are they typos, or is your real pirate self coming out? And that's okay. I'm here for you.
You know what you don't know is that, I don't know, Michael, you can tell me if your family's like this. My family was always like, if you made a faux pas like that in your speech or in writing, it would really follow you for the rest of your life. Like my mom made she was mad once and was yelling at my brother and I at a restaurant. And she said, just shut up and drink your cookie. And so still, we yell that at her.
But that belongs on a t-shirt. Shut up and eat your cookie. Like that's something that would happen. That would be said in like Archer. Mm-hmm. Shut up and eat your cookie.
And drinking our cookie is what we do now. So
right.
Yeah. So in our family, that's a sign of love, or we wouldn't remember it.
Yeah. Let's see. Just in case there's confusion, National Talk Like a Pirate Day is September 19th. Jordan. God. Oh my God. You see a community together. Togetherness and phlebotomy.
What else could we like think up that would be like a good? I already tried to pitch to Hake to make Pogs for comic books again. Just like include Pogs with a comic. I mean, come on! It's time for Pogs to come back.
I'm the type that so one of the biggest things that I enjoyed as a kid was like the transformable collectible, I'm gonna call it, but it's just like when Burger King had their Inspector Gadget toys. You could get them and then you can put them together to actually make him. Like that's the kind of that I love. So it's just like I know when I'm designing merchandise or whatnot for my book Patty and Laz, plug. I'm thinking about like how do these things go together? Not just like a toy line or like a shirt line, like when you put them all together. Like I love DVD boxes where each of the boxes is like part of an image, and it's just like it something in my brain says you're not addicted to cocaine, you're addicted to this, and it's just like I stack all the boxes. Did you really pitch Pogs in this century? Did I hear that right?
I thought that I had Hake sold. This was like last year. He was like, yeah, but this is when you guys had just started doing the comic tags, and I was like, man, it would be so easy to like just pog up.
Pog up. Again, you're creating t-shirt quality quotes here. James is pretty 90s obsessed, so Pogs might be a thing. You know what? I need to Google Pogs because my brain is thinking of too many different things.
It's a dumb, well, not dumb. It was a fun collectible game It was kind of
Oh
started.
my God.
So
Pogs.
we can have like Pog tournaments at conventions.
I had forgotten about Pogs. Like it felt like somebody just scrubbed my brain when I just Googled them. Holy cow.
Miss Jen just sold me what my financial advisor would call an unwise amount of Pogs like a year and a half ago. They would probably say you should buy 0 Pogs. And I bought all the Pogs.
I mean, I'm just looking at all the different versions and all the different. Oh, that would be dangerous if we brought Pogs back.
Even if you didn't want to play them, you collected them, right?
You collected them, yeah. Oh, I'm looking at the really cool like 3D ones, where the image is like, I guess, slightly metallic under like a different layer and stuff. And that's, oh my God, my 90s gay heart is exploding.
You could like so easily 3D print your own slammers, because the actually lighter slammers that are plastic are much better than the heavy metal ones.
Whoa.
Secret inside info.
Oh man. So this takes me back to like 90s collectible toys like the Inspector Gadget. See how you repressed that memory from your brain, Mike? That should tell you something. First of all, most of my morning gets repressed, and then I'll remember it in a few decades. I'm sure that what I ate for breakfast will come back to me in 20 years.
So Miss Jen was talking about shut up and drink your cookie. In my family, they make fun of me still to this day, 28 years later, because my parents paid for me and my sister and all of our cousins to go to Kings Island, an amusement park with roller coasters. I never made it to a roller coaster because they were having a Pogs tournament, and I just went to the arcade and never left the whole day. And I wound up winning the Pogs tournament, but it was like, we came here to ride roller coasters and you're playing Pogs.
But you had a goal-oriented.
How much money would it cost to buy Pogs the name right now? Does anyone have like a case sitting around? I'm sure we could buy it.
I don't have Pogs because I am a homosexual, but I know I want you to take what I just said, internalize it, and we'll talk about that. Let's put a pin in that.
Is it because it's a sports ball?
I don't know.
I just feel URL is not available. Pogs.com is not for sale.
Damn.
We're gonna have to find out who owns that and harass them until they give it to us.
I was wondering, I don't know what the merchandise future looks like for Scout or for other folks, but specifically for Scout. But I mean, apart from just Pogs, like pulling from like 90s ideas, the 90s had bad hair. The 90s had really questionable politics, but it had the best toys. I'm going to say that right now. I'm going to say it again. The 90s had the best toys. And sure, they gave you a little bit of a sick feeling when you picked them up in, the Bronx or something, because they were made with like lead. But they were designed for fun, not for your everlasting youth. That's why all of us are.
I know what we need to do.
Yeah.
The records, LPs, have now taken over sales from CDs, which is not surprising. I don't know where you buy a CD anymore anyway. But do you remember back in the day when I think it was Taco Bell that did this promotion, where they had, as per their giveaways, this like, it was almost like a paper with like, it had a record on it, but it was just like, you had to like take care of this thing, right? You could actually, since you can't really get records made right now, they're like a year out and to get things made, even Tay-Tay can't get them done, but you can make those paper versions with just the plastic wax imprint on them and include those with a comic book, because now
that would be very cool.
You'd have your jam in there.
My letterer, speaking of, well, I guess not exactly records, but my letterer has a deep obsession with like nostalgia based merchandise, and so we've spoken about this, and his favorite magazine growing up was Nintendo Power. I don't know if you ever collected exactly. Everyone did, because more so than like PlayStation Magazine, which was its own version of cool, and it came with the demo disc, and everybody needed that now. But the Nintendo Power one acted almost like art books for any one of their series. And it's just like, why don't we still have something like that? And I know physical media is like not on a downturn, but it's harder to sell to a lot of folks. Like the folks who love it, and the folks who don't know that they love it. And it's, I would love a Nintendo Power thing for, I don't know, I would collect, let's say a Scout Nintendo Power style magazine where it's just like interviews and like different art and different stuff packed in. Like it would be a lot of, let's say the stuff that we're talking about here, different topics, but it's like, and then including like, let's say we commission a few of our artists to talk about and like include stuff. That's like, why is that not a thing? It's an event.
Okay. And I have a very important question to you, talking about merch. Is there a Patty and Laz comics on coffee coming, and what flavor?
Ooh, so there are a couple things you have to know about me. A, I have diabetes. B, I am addicted to caffeine. It doesn't necessarily mean, if we want to appeal to the kids today, we should bundle every comic with 10 Robux. That is vicious, and that is exactly what we should do. But I'm also, in terms of flavor, the most basic Betty you will ever meet. I would want something that's like caramel macchiato flavored or pumpkin spice flavored.
Perfect.
I mean, it's, and so I know that what we're doing is we're taking like covers or whatnot, we're putting it on. Is there like custom art that's going on, or is it mostly like the covers of like an issue 1 or something that's going on?
It looks like there's like, for some of them, there's like a few panels of a story on the back. I don't know if it's original, not found in the comic book, because you have to get it that way, or if it's reproduction stuff from the book to get you hyped.
Because I know that my artist Rake would eat up the idea of several characters just sitting around a table drinking coffee, like just so I have 4 main characters, but one of them is an anthropomorphic dragon that he wears like a blue robe, and I'm gonna post it on my Instagram, and hopefully Scout shares it because I'm gonna be unveiling that character. But he's a red dragon, not like, you ever played Spyro the Dragon?
Yeah.
The PS1 game. Think very much that. We're talking that energy. So he is a large dragon, but he shrinks down, and he has a big fluffy blue robe, and he drinks tea. And I would absolutely have an entire line of tea products and coffee products with him as the mascot. And just like, and he also is English, and I hear him voiced by Patrick Stewart in my head, because that's what needs to happen. Because he has like, he's red, but he has like gray hair going all the way down to his tail, and he has like perfectly manicured claws. And it's just, there is an episode of Star Trek where Jean-Luc Picard is, I guess, possessed by a woman or something, and it's just like has beautiful manicured nails. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't remember this one.
Oh my God. It was just like Lady Patrick Stewart was everything. And I was just, and he pulled it up, and it was just like, was he and Ian McKellen, were they best friends back in the day? Because I could see Ian McKellen saying like, girl.
I feel like they've always been friends, but maybe that's not true.
We just think that because they're elderly, that they must have known each other since they were 6. And it's just like, yes, when they were 6, the First World War was like a distant future. But it's just like, that I do imagine them that way, like them hanging out in like the playground, just like, is Patrick Stewart English or is he Welsh? I feel like
They're both.
I know who McKellen is.
They're both English.
They're both English. Okay, so they would have both been bullies. So I
they need to have like a reality show where it's just following them around all day.
Absolutely, yes. I can only imagine the type of sassy arguments that they would get into all the time. I just imagine it, and it's just like, we're getting the Kardashians, we got like Ozzy Osbourne show, the Osbournes. Why don't we have classy British trash?
That's right, there you go.
It's just what I need. But yeah, I want a, man, if I could, I used to have several of the pieces of the Inspector Gadget toy when I was
Mhm.
younger, and then I moved a couple times, so now they're just gone. But
Oh,
so much pain.
To bring it back around to comic books, Sir Patrick Stewart met Sir Ian McKellen on the set of 2000's X-Men. They had
really?
never met before the X-Men movie.
They were
What?
kindred spirits. That's awesome.
That's crazy. And also, I don't believe it. I refuse. But also, I do hope that if the MCU does incorporate the X-Men in the next like couple years, that we can get one or both of them back in a like I know that Patrick Stewart was in the Doctor Strange movie, but he was there for like 4 minutes. I would like both of them to be like proper main characters in an MCU movie, because I feel like you got to give reverence where reverence is due. And those two, like I know Hugh Jackman's coming back for the Deadpool movie, and there are little sprinklings of possibly like Famke Jensen and James Marsden coming back as Cyclops and Jean Grey. No word about Halle Berry coming back as Storm, and I don't think anybody's mad at that. I know a lot of people do love Halle Berry as Storm, but I also know that ever since I learned that Angela Bassett was supposed to be Storm and had to turn it down because they didn't offer her any money. Because Angela Bassett as Storm is the only casting I have any interest in. Any interest.
Oh, good.
Because let's not forget, Angela Bassett has the arms of
She does.
Just a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And she looks like she hasn't aged since Stella got her groove back. So I don't know about you, but that's a goddess in my world. Thank you so much. But she didn't accept the role because they didn't offer any money. But that's why she came back as Queen Ramonda for Black Panther, because the price was right. And honestly, yeah, reverence. She shouldn't be getting paid out, just into the stratosphere. Just toss all the cash.
I don't know how this is going to look, but this is what they tell you when you look up how long have Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart been friends. This is what comes up.
But also,
like,
that is so cute.
Go with it.
It's so cute. Yes. Why is that not a show? So sorry guys. I'm sorry, Hayek. With this point forward, this is an Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart fan podcast. That's what this is, and I want everyone to be okay with this because that's all I have left. I know we have to wrap things up, but this is supposed to be Mustachio question. If you had to choose which one to be, would you be Patrick Stewart or Ian McKellen? Go. Meaning any of their characters they've ever done, but specifically Magneto and Professor X.
I like really broken characters that have like I don't necessarily think they need to have a dark beginning, but I mean, like I understand Magneto's argument, and I like the way he was played by Ian. So Ian.
Part of me, and I enjoy Magneto's story in the comic books a lot more as well, mainly because Professor X is a broken character, but he's so self-righteous that in the comic books, at least, it's just like it's hard to connect with him. And I know that James McAvoy rendition went back to that a little bit, but Patrick Stewart's rendition of Professor X, he was what the character thought he was. It's just like he portrayed as like the all father, like the one who wanted to protect, who was looking and see. And I'm just like, that's a very hard. I know I just asked this question myself, but I'm going to have to go with Patrick Stewart. His version of Professor X. And also because Jean-Luc Picard, that's all. I got to give it to my Star Trek Next Generation love.
So then our pretend selves are besties, so that's good.
There you go. Kyle, you've spoken up a storm. You got to give us
Patrick Stewart, because of his Othello in Othello.
You see
You
us
died.
diabetics stick together.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is better when you're working with each other.
He also did a stint as the king in Hamlet when David Tennant was playing Hamlet for a couple of shows and they put it on PBS. And so he played like the ghost of himself at some point. Like
That's
it was this wild recording. And I'm going, oh my God, it's the Doctor and Captain Picard like together saying Shakespeare words.
That's great. Why have neither one of them ever done anything for Doctor Who? Just putting that out there. Why have neither one of them played a doctor, even like in a movie special?
That would be wicked cool.
That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Quick
anyway,
check of the credits reveal that is true. Yes, neither of them have ever been associated with Doctor Who.
Which is crazy to me because I believe that they are both the Doctor in this universe. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, maybe it's too low. Maybe they need to be more low key.
Yeah.
So that they don't get found out as actual time travelers.
Regardless, everyone, this has been Mustachio a Question. I've been Michael. That's been Jen. And the disembodied voice has been Kyle. We love you. We appreciate you, but we are better than you. Bye-bye.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is